Loud?
Expecting that question.
Well, and then there's something about AI companion. I'm like, oh, you everywhere.
And we do have to say okay to the recording if anybody needs to say okay to that. If not, it doesn't matter, but they have to accept that.
Sorry, like a verbal accept or what?
Mine popped up at the top of my screen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Popped up saying, "Are you accepting or leave the meeting?"
Ah, all right.
So
Okay, well, hello, welcome everybody to the Spring into Action creative writing, well, fiction and poetry workshop. I'm just making up new titles as I go, apparently.
creative.
Creative writing, yeah.
Creative license to change the title.
Thanks. All right. So, yeah, Rebecca and I put together this workshop because well, we're both authors. We're both actually have our own memberships and creative writing groups for our own specific things. It just kind of found that we're both very on a similar track and wanted to do something together to get writers of a different interest to come together. And they can always learn something. If you're more of a poet, then you can still learn from fiction writing, and that can still apply, and vice versa.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Anything to add to that, Rebecca?
No, I think a lot of writers do kind of tend to cross over, even if they have a favored, you know, choice of style, or if they prefer creative fiction writing, but sometimes they dabble in poetry and vice versa. So I think it's always nice to just kind of open yourself up to that creative endeavor and just see where it takes you.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Okay. We'll get over the awkward phase in a few minutes here. No, that was good. That was well said.
There's
Okay,
no,
so I guess just to give a brief intro of who I am, I'm a tea lover. Here's my pot of tea. No. I'm a poet. I'm a thrice published author. Well, I did self-publishing route, and I'll get into probably more of that later on as we go, but I just found that I had the creative drive to do it, and it was sort of easier on that moment in my life when I really wanted to create a book, and I just found it was more fun to end up self-publishing. So my three books are Chaos of Tao, Reverse Cycle Repeat, and Emptiness of the Way. And they're all poetry composed within a year. So the first one was from 2020, 2021, 2022. So these very crazy transformative moments in human history and life for all of us. And I just really felt creative, poetic energy during those times too. And in a way, it kind of preserves it, makes a time capsule of those times and those experiences for me, and the things that I was really thinking about. Like, and I just love looking back at like the 2020 book, and I'm like, wow, like I mean, the world was going nuts, but I also was like thinking a lot about like Buddhism back then because that's stuff that I was studying. So like that's really cool to see the inspired thoughts that ha those happy moments that still exist and everything I was going through. But yeah, anyway. So, along with those, I mean, I've been writing poetry for 17 years. I started getting into it when I was 12. Really, I was an emo kid. I would say I still am, and I was inspired by a lot of stuff that was on the internet. But then a lot of music that I was listening to, just a lot of poetic lyrics that were in there, and it just got me into writing. Can't say I produced anything very great at the time, but I was still interested in doing it. And when you're a kid, that's all that matters. So, and you just keep the passion going.
Mhm.
I have a Bachelor of Arts. Studied at Western University in London, Ontario. A very specific program called Meeting in the Public Interest. really difficult to define what that was, but there's a lot of critical media study and critical on technology and how it affects our culture, sociology involved, and a lot of philosophy. And Sigmund Freud came up a lot. I ran a tea business for 4 years, Mecca Tea. Um, and I guess just other little things that I do. Website design. I've designed a couple of my websites now. Podcast host. I used to do one called Opening the Box, and I kind of let that go when I moved out west. And now I'm doing Speaking of Tea, dot, 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 as part of the title. And so that's actually active and ongoing. Also, back to, more writing endeavors. I'm a songwriter. I actually made an album in October. It's called Singing to the Dead. So I wrote a lot of songs, lyrics for the first time because it's been a lot of poetry for me. But then I made actual songs this time around. And I'm a musician. I've been drumming for 8 years. Rhythm player. I was also learning bass guitar at the time. So um, yeah, and so then what I'm doing at this point is I'm also offering poetry coaching services to help guide people in their poetry writing, get them on track, also to help with the publishing journey, and also writing for mental health reasons as a form of healing. Um, I'll say that's me, and I will pass the mic to Rebecca.
Hey, I'm Rebecca. I've been writing for over 50 years. It's just a passion of mine. I've always had it. I was kind of born a wordsmith, so always an avid reader, always an avid writer. And I just love sharing that passion and helping other writers do it. So my BA is in English, my MA is in literature. I went to the Writers Institute of Children's Literature and completed that while I was actually still in high school. So I just always, yeah, it's been it's who I am. It's just who I am. I'm always more focused on the writing than the publishing side of things because for me, it's my soul. But I have had poetry and short stories published in literary journals and some local stuff. And I've written over 10 novels. And I might actually decide to go ahead and start publishing now just because I'm in that next phase of my life. Um, I offer coaching services, beta reading services. I do pretty much everything with a red pen because I love my red pen. Um, so I'm also that girl that grades your letters and returns them, but I do it with love. Um, so yeah, I'm doing coaching services, like I said. I have power hours for people that aren't ready to commit to getting ready to write their novel. My one-on-one new program is actually a 6-month program designed to get your book written. So you'll actually complete 6 months and have the book you want written, ready to go. Um, and that's a one-on-one, but I do power hours. I also do quarter-hour muse minutes for, quick laser focused help to get past something. And then on my Facebook page, I just do creative daily writing prompts and fun stuff like that. So I'm always available to talk writing with anyone because it's fun. So that's me.
Thank you. Uh, okay, shall we get started?
Yes.
What do you do with writer's block? Does
So
anybody experience it? How do you face it? How do you stare it down? How do you get out of that hole of anxiety? Is anybody I guess anybody watching, or you can say, come off your mic for a second or type in the chat, like, what's it feel like? And, or if you have any questions, how to get through it. And because we have tons of ideas.
Yeah. So I do have one that I've had to learn over and over that it's really the one that works for me is so I do meditation as a form of healing and relaxation as well. And one of the main things I do at the very beginning is what we call entering our heart. And typically, if I'm working from the ego only, I run into writer's block and everything else gets in the way. But when I enter my heart, I tend to find that the ego is kind of set aside more, and I'm able to really focus from a place of, could say, higher self rather than ego based. And I find that the writing seems to be a lot um, more life, uh, not just physical life, but inner life. You could even say chaos poetry, as Rachelle had me join one of that group, and that was really good. So that's kind of what I do is I enter my heart, and some might call that other things like channeling. I just say I'm speaking my inner truth. That's where it comes from. There you
Beautiful.
go.
Awesome. I'd say a lot of those things are kind of the same thing in a way, the channeling and speaking your inner truth.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They can be different, but they can also be seen as the same. I love that.
cool.
When I was in my younger years, more into my 20s and just out of high school, I was very much interested and enjoyed writing poetry and different short stories and just thoughts that would come to mind, and put it together in words. But in the last 40 years, kind of life's got in the way, and I get a chance more for kind of special events, birthdays, or anniversaries is when I get a little bit inspired to write. So I would like to be able to get into that zone just under normal conditions. Like, so that's, I have a bit of a writer's block, it seems, over the
Mm.
last several years. So I'm wanting to find an inspiration to start getting back into it a little bit again. So that's why I'm kind of wanting to sit in on this workshop and learn from you guys, Rachelle and Rebecca. So
Okay.
that
Cool. I love that you're using that as your like using greetings or using poetry as a form of greeting. That's really cool.
and yeah, right. Special events and family gatherings or birthdays or holidays. Those are the times that I usually want to write about something to someone. But I want to do that now just for the fun of it, kind of, right?
Yes.
I'm hoping this kind of group will inspire me to do that.
Well, good.
There you go.
Then let's start with the writing prompt, or not a writing prompt, but just a writing dump, or a couple of minutes to just start clearing your mojo. A lot of times just writing anything, even if it's not what you wanted to write, will get you past it just to start putting words on the page. It could be like, I'm sitting here in this writing workshop, I don't know why I'm here, blah, blah, blah. But by the time you finish those couple of minutes, you're now ready to start processing. And Rachelle has a very nice meditative technique that she's going to share with us, I think, right?
Yeah.
Working.
So grab your pens and paper.
Gosh, where are mine even? Well, okay. Let's flip it to a new page and then I'll okay. So well, me getting into the zone, it usually is through having some tea and because I find it's just so grounding and really centering. So let's just go. Yeah.
You see that, Rochelle?
You got tea. Good.
I'm in.
So taking a deep sip from the beverage and feeling the sensations in your mouth, the heat on your tongue, and bringing you into your body, and and it also is pulling in that great big deep breath to take you out of just the regular chatter of your mind. So you're pulling And then there's nothing else going on. There's nothing on the outside influencing you. If you close your eyes, it is just that darkness. And I really love the void. The void is this perfect dark space where, in some cases, it could be scary, but we're not going to look at it as a place of fear. We're going to look at it as a place of love and a place where we really just coming into ourselves. When we close our eyes, there is just that darkness. That darkness is beautiful. And sometimes when we focus, we can start to see certain colors or certain images. And while we sit in it, we realize how quiet it really is. And then we start to feel our bodies, our feet on the ground, the socks on our feet if we're wearing any, or the shoes, or if you're barefoot, the temperature of the ground. And all those things can go into writing a poem or writing a piece of fiction because now you're starting to recognize a place where you are. And it's very simple because when you want to start writing with description, you definitely want to be using imagery. Then you maybe open your eyes and you see that there's a crystal in front of you. And you think, that crystal, it has a meaning. And then you end up wanting to look up that crystal. It does have a meaning. What does it feel like? What is it all about? Do I relate to that? Do I not relate to that? Maybe I can write about exactly what's in front of me. What is this crystal about? Why do I dislike its energy? Why do I love its energy? And start going from there. And then you yeah, maybe you title the poem Obsidian Crystal. And then you come back into the space where you are, and then there's always different images that you can pick up around the room that then start to influence what's going to go into that poem. And you also then put your feelings into it. And the great poem is always has a narrative structure to it. So you start with what it is that thing is, maybe some emotion that's there, and I often like to go through and the poem starting with that image and then having an end point, sort of like a piece of fiction that ends up tying in and making a short snippet of a story or a little capsule of experience. And then I come back and pick up my bowl of tea and say I'm done.
Very peaceful. We can give everyone a couple of minutes to do a nice writing, just write whatever comes to mind. You know, just a couple minutes to clear yourself. So you don't have to share it with anybody, it's just for you. But just take a couple minutes to put pen to paper and write something out. You can use something you visually see. Just make it a diary journal, anything you want, just write for a couple of minutes.
As long as you're not forcing yourself to any outcome.
Right. Nope, this is just for For the sake of time, we're just gonna start wrapping up what we're writing. Don't want to gong anybody, but it's a good time to start putting a bookmark in what you're doing.
Okay.
I like that smile I just saw come across your face as you finished it. That's great. All
Great.
right.
Everyone's done a little something? Athena, haven't heard from you in a bit. Are you writing? What's going on over in your end?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe I'll just start with sharing mine and kind of where I went. So I decided to focus on that crystal. So it's a chakra obsidian crystal. I can show it too. I got this recently at a crystal fair.
Oh, it's cute.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I kind of I mean I do work on chakras, I do Reiki and everything. And so I understand what all these are and I work with the energetics, but I actually felt myself go into the perspective of I guess a younger me who would see these things but like not have any understanding of them. But like, here's what they say. Okay, so anyway. So chakra obsidian crystal. Dark pointed, colored symbols rising up the spine, a rainbow of chakras, separate yet intertwined. They say remove yourself from ego. The energetics will flow through. Simple enough, but I feel nothing. So colors with symbols match energetic points? Because I see nothing except the skin on my body. Close my eyes, make myself believe. Well, they all say it's there, so I'll accept this godlike thing. So it
I
ends
like it.
with like it ends with a little hint of like sarcasm of like, sure, yeah.
It's actually a good intro for your segment on poetry. That's going to be perfect.
Cool.
Anyway,
Did you write something, Rebecca?
I just did a journal dump because we're on that time crunch. So
What,
I
Yeah.
just did a journal dump. So unless anybody wants to share, I say we just go ahead and start your.
I'll share. What's a journal dump? What do you call? What's that? Just
So it's just literally writing out what you're doing, what your thoughts are. So I was just actually saying we're sitting here, in this workshop, and I just went off on a whole thing that I won't bother boring anybody with because it was literally just almost a journal entry. So
yes.
we call it a brain dump, journal entry, just anything. It could be when you sit down and do a brain dump, you could actually write something that's fiction or poetry, something intentional. But when you have that, I want to write and I don't know what I want to write, or I should write and I don't feel like writing, sometimes just doing a brain dump is the best way to just start the writing process.
Right.
There's something about writing that gets you to start writing.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah. So it's a good idea to write your thoughts or your daily activities down once or twice.
Yes.
You do that? Or do you people that are into writing keep a regular journal pretty much daily for years and years?
No, I actually don't. I have journals that are partially filled in,
Yeah.
lots of half-empty journals. Sometimes I'll write every day. I haven't done a daily journal entry in probably years, but I do daily writing.
Yes.
Um, So if I'm stuck, I will go ahead and do a dump like that. I actually do a lot of prompts. When I'm feeling like I'm not motivated, I will do a writing prompt. I enjoy those. Um, that's my thing lately. So
What's that? How do you mean? What does that mean?
so it'll be something I post prompts every day for people. I'll
Oh,
follow other people's prompts. So it could be something as simple as your character is running late for a job interview and there's a car accident. Write a scene, right?
ah, yeah,
Something like that.
yeah,
Um, and it's different types of things. So you can use it with something you're currently working on, or it could be its own little standalone piece that I'll call bits, and you file it away because it might turn into something you want to write about later. It might
right.
be something you add into a piece that's already in process or a future piece. So
Yeah.
never get rid of those bits. Save the bits.
So I'm gonna need to get myself a bit of a journal or a book where I can
Mhm.
have a just access of it, leave it on the coffee table, sort of thing, and just have it handy. So when you have thoughts or ideas, you can start jotting it down. That's
Definitely.
good
That's a good
exercise.
idea. Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
I've got notebooks, journals, composition, memo pads, my computer. I have stuff everywhere for those reasons. Because usually it happens when you're in the shower, so
Yeah,
having something right when you get out of the shower is a good
and
idea.
you're right. And if you did have that, once you jump out of the shower or wake up, you right away will go to pen and paper, eh? And
Yep, and
probably
yeah.
justifiable something in your head that might work for something later or whatever, inspire you to carry it on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you just never know. Like I said, sometimes there's just random, like I'll write a prompt. I'll see a user's prompt, somebody's prompt out there. I'll write it just to respond to it. And I ended up writing a whole flash fiction the other day just because of a writer's prompt. It
right.
was my prompt too. I'm like, I kept going. I'm like, oh, I got 1,000 words. It's a full story. It's a flash fiction. Done.
Yeah, yeah,
It was not planned. You just don't know where these things will take you. So even writing a journal entry could take you to a finished piece later on.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here's mine here, Rachelle. You guys got another minute here?
Oh, yeah,
So here's what I wrote. Speaking of thoughts, so it goes titled at thoughts. Once upon a time, I used to enjoy writing my thoughts until life got in the way with lots of others and their thoughts. So here I am today to share my thoughts with a lots of people like me and my thoughts. So that's what I managed to scribble down in those few minutes.
Love it.
that's
Good point.
great.
Yeah. So now something like this, now I would bring it to someone like you or either of you, or talk to people like you, and we could put that into a proper format and you know,
Mhm.
give it the editing and the scrutiny and end
Mhm.
up with
Yeah.
a nice finished product, right? That's the whole idea here.
Yeah, exactly. And so then that's a start, right? And we give you just like a couple of minutes to write it down. So then if you wanted to like expand on it and like make it longer, if that's what you feel your piece would be wanting, or if you just did want to keep it short, but then we'll just kind of guide you if there's
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it was a cute piece that you wrote, but then you also might want to like rewrite it grammatically because
Yeah.
some parts didn't work or create stanzas out of something that was just like a whole, chunk or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
And if
done.
you like it, you go back, you reread it, you edit it, you write some more on it, you revise it. It's a process. The writing part's fun, the revising part not as much, but it's part of the process.
Yes. Right. Okay. All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Do we have?
Where are we on to next here, Rebecca?
Sorry, what was it, Rochelle?
Where are we on to next?
I think you're gonna do your section on poetry now, right?
Oh, okie dokie.
Or if you want, I'll take craft rules. It's up to you.
Yeah, let me just see. I had a little thing here. Okay. So, all right. So kind of calling this section conscious poetry. And so I mean, it kind of comes back to how I did that sort of like little meditation earlier. And I really like how Cal you were talking about like being heart-centered because that's how you do find that place of truth and what you really want to be saying. So Um, and actually, what I wrote down, a really inspirational line from a song that's by Third Eye Blind. Um, yeah. I can't think of the title. Well, anyways, the line that I really love here is "Let the truth blow like a hurricane through me." And in my poetry, personally, like I've really well, like I said, when I was in 2020, I was getting really serious about writing poetry. Serious, passionate, I guess. I was really studying a lot of Taoism, and so it's just kind of like the truth about how things work, and it's nothing you can't quite define the Tao, but you have words to describe it, and so that's a really fun thing for me to work with. But I was also doing a lot of like truth seeking in like what's really going on in the world, what's going on in my mind, what's going on, just how things are working. So I really liked like this line because it's just like let the truth blow like a hurricane through me. Like, okay, yes, like just to kind of come from that place of truth and then to write something that feels honest. Um, and also into the idea of like brain dumping when I really was like really getting into writing more was in 2020, I just had a mental health crash, realistically, and I had I like literally had to write. So this was like only period of my life where I wrote a journal entry like literally every day, and it was basically like a brain dump for all the things that I was tired of thinking about, things that I was like talking about, and just traumatic stuff that was just swirling, and it had to go. But it had to go on page because I needed to be very conscious about those thoughts and recognize them and draw them out in long form. And through that process was me then able to open up my mind and my heart, and then more, say, constructed beautiful words could arrive in as poetry. Um, so I don't know. Yeah. Uh, so that's that. So stream of consciousness is also a really beautiful form of writing poetry. So if you don't know what that is, it's just, I mean, it could be used for writing any type of thing, if it's literature, if it's bloody a blog post, anything. Anyway, um, so stream of consciousness is really just, you just start writing, and you can just write for a whole paragraph, you can write a whole page straight, and it's just not removing your pen from the page. You don't stop to think. You let every word that's going to come through, and um, so right. This is a place where you're not editing, you're not pausing yourself. Everything comes out, and if the word dog comes out in the middle of your phrase, you leave it and you just carry on. And if you're really just thinking about, going on a no, going on a walk in nature could include a dog. But yeah, I don't know. If you're like whatever your piece just ends up being about, and then the word dog shows up, you ignore it, and then you go on. And if the word coffee comes up and it made no sense, you go on. But but the fun thing about then at the end of a piece of stream of consciousness poetry, it can remain like as that original piece. Um and then also you get to have that and then circle certain words and be like, you can then like, take apart that piece, and then you can just like write bullet points of your favorite words or favorite elements that came through in that piece, and then you can completely rewrite it into a poem with stanzas and create more of a proper narrative out of it. Or then yeah, you can still make it as a sort of consciousness piece. I don't know. Just for example, I'll read one poem that I wrote that's actually called Parksville and the Stream of Consciousness, that I wrote in 2020. Um, and you're on page what? What? Where are you? 33. Oh, we like that number. I like that. And I can't say this one changed too much from the original because it just really turned out to be what it was, but watching and waiting and crashing and waving. The sea chews me up and spits me out in the comforting crests of crashing waves. Sitting back and watching the water move inches towards me, let it flow, let it be, let it come. I reflect on my thoughts from when I floated upon it, allowing the tugs and pushes and gasps and grasps to really pull me in and out, but never really down as the water splashes over my mouth. But I refuse to sink down. But oh my, I'll hang in there, floating, fighting the seaweed off and away from me until I give up and allow it to immerse me, consume me. I'll do what I can do, I can only move forward. Singing, feeling, floating, turn around and swim forward a few meters until I tire and realize that all I really want to do is float. And I think about the big beach parties where everyone is barbarian, kicking, splashing, screaming, and woohooing and challenging each other, simply living their greatest unrestrained potential in their most vulnerable, near naked forms. And I wish I was there, and I'm glad that I'm here, watching, feeling, reflecting. It is always a reflection of myself. So, and then so like I don't know, the kind of the point of that was like to be like this is me in the moment. This is me literally writing about how I'm reflecting upon the moment, but also how I was describing being in the water, but I'm also, you can kind of, at least I feel like what I accomplished in that piece was that I was showing myself in two places, but you can understand how I was in one place and reflecting. So, um, but anyway, the point of that was just really, I mean, to really flow, like play with the name of that style of poetry and then also be literally, this is like a stream conscious. I'm in the water. I am feeling and flowing. So, yeah. um, tool pick part for editing. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I guess the next point that I had to express for this time for being conscious with your poetry. So, like spending time on editing, and we're going to bring that up a lot in this workshop because we just feel it's really important and it's something that people overlook a lot um, because poetry is very personal and we do write it in with like a certain intention. We might be thinking of a certain person because, of course, it's lots of love poetry, and there might be, but then but you still want to perfect that poem. Like you don't want to have said that girl was like a rose when really she's more like a lily. Like you want to get those moments, those expressions perfectly right. Um, and and while I'm not a like such a rule-based person when it comes to writing poetry, or to particular styles. I would say I'm pretty like free form, but there's still um like very specific grammar things that I like to focus on to make sure a piece is really written correctly or actually can make sense to the reader. Um and then I also might be writing it to be like expressing even to myself for me to read aloud because I also like to perform my poetry. So is if it makes sense written and makes sense when said aloud, then I know I've really achieved it the right way. So the editing comes in place just to be like, ooh, that word may have worked, but it did not flow off the tongue. I just ruined that sentence. So then like editing is like a big thing to make sure it works.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. I guess just like as a random example here, like, and sometimes we have really fits and starts when it comes to a poem, and it doesn't have to come out perfectly in one go. Um, and so like I have this one in front of me, the original draft, and it's something I ended up breaking up into two poems because I realized the elements were similar enough, but then I realized I was kind of telling two different stories. So then that's when I'm like, okay, like it's time to take these apart. Um, so some sort of like, is it poetry if I talk about fire? Is it worth listing everything you do? Is it okay if I'm afraid or confused? Does your flame light my way to truth? Dusty ashes fall from his cigarette and the logs. Elemental element metal didn't cross my mind. There is something in what we create with this. Um, uh, oh no, I'm looking at different spots. It's sort of messy writing here. Start a fire, keep me warm. I have lots to burn away. Wood stove lit and hot, holding each other, cuddling as the thermometer slowly rises. Difficult to solve, yet simply, peacefully true. Everything to learn. Fire does not melt. Snake eyes. Ignite my fury into glee, my silence into song. And so these just kind of like fragmented pieces that just kind of like, okay, like what's going on? I know I have something to express about fire and new love in our connection with each other and being by the wood stove and you know cuddling together as the temperature rises because it's the winter time, like all these things were kind of going on. So but then there's like something also like in this like cute smile that he had when he's smoking the cigarette and looking at me. So then and so it kind of broke up into two poems. So then I got here Snake Eyes. Start a fire, keep me warm. I have lots to burn away. Wood stove lit and hot. Hold each other cuddling as the thermometer slowly rises. Captain, who are you? Love as a torch. I wonder if you can ignite me. Ignite my fury into glee, my silence into song. Tell me the secrets to shed old skin. Start a fire with its remains. A warm red glow from burning, decaying logs. Add another. Beneath the earth, a rhythm speaks to me, ancient messages whispered through the tunneled roots of trees. Everything is a gift. A flame kept alive by the efforts of mankind will go on to live forever. When an ember dies away, it is not forever lost. Snake eyes means you roll again. Feed some more. Roots burn too. May all things surrender to the cycle of life. So then I had fun kind of bringing up a few different elements about the snake, and then just like and then suddenly, oh, we're rolling dice, snake eyes, and just yeah, yeah, sort of gamble of life. I don't know. And then so then the next page I then made the other one, smirk, long draw, slow burning flame, inquisition through the eyes, distant, detached, intrigued, him or me. His cigarette drops dusty ashes, squinting eyes, lips curled, laughter makes smoke escape. Difficult to solve, yet simply, peacefully true. Wait a second there. Who are you smirking at?
It's a good example of how you take your original thoughts and you edit it and work it and
Hmm. Thank you.
up with your
Yeah.
finished pieces. Yeah, revising is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need to, but sometimes you need to. And reading out loud is essential. I tell that to everybody when I'm working with them. It's like always a writer's first question. Well, I'm done. Now what? Now you go sit in your favorite chair with it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a longer piece, a glass of water,
Oh,
and you read it out loud.
yay. Okay. And yeah, because like for example, this is what the page looks like. Random spurts of things. And
Mhm.
then there's some crossing out. And it
Yep.
actually became like 4 pages. And then right? So totally okay if when you're working on something it looks like crap and messy like that because then you get to go and play and edit and make it into what you really want it to be.
Yep.
Hey
Yep.
Seppi, welcome.
Hello.
Well, we just did the part on conscious poetry, but I'll give you the link for the replay so you can catch up on it. And then Rebecca's going to go into fiction stuff.
Yeah, well, it's, poetry probably related as well, because it's going to be, fact or fiction, but it'll apply to any type of writing. It's about craft rules and can they be broken? So is it fact that craft rules can be broken or fiction that craft rules can be broken? And I'm going to say both. Yes, it is both fact and fiction. Grammar rules do not apply. Grammar rules are definitely fact. You cannot break them. A little bit of leeway on some stuff, semicolons, whatnot, but for the most part, grammar and mechanics are mandatory. But the craft rules, you're gonna have a lot of people say you cannot break craft rules, but they're not really rules. They're tools. They're guidelines. And if you know what those craft rules are, then you know if you can break them or not, because it has to be broken with intent. That's the key to it. You can only break a craft rule if you know you're breaking it, because then you can do it successfully. What are craft rules? Craft rules are the dreaded show, don't tell, consistency and point of view, having a strong opening hook, having believable characters, defined conflicts, pacing, realistic dialogue, world building, sensory engagement, plot structure, character arcs, being clear and concise in your prose. Those are all considered craft rules. But again, they're just guidelines. So you want to make sure your readers are invested in your story, they stay interested, they get to know the characters, they can follow the plot, they can understand what they're reading. Those are the reasons we have the craft rules. If you break them, you risk losing your reader. That's why you need to know why you're breaking it and what you're breaking. The craft rules are meant to engage your readers and keep them wanting to stay immersed in your story. It creates a strong emotion. It'll evoke a stronger emotion for them. It allows for suspension of disbelief, creates authenticity. So those are all good reasons you want to follow craft guidelines. Otherwise, it's possibly going to have a weak storytelling. But it's your story. You can tell it your way. 100% creative freedom when you're a writer. You can even ignore your editor when they tell you to make changes. You know, maybe not a good idea, but sometimes it is a very good idea. And we will get into editing because a lot of times editors are wrong. It's, as the wordsmith though, it's your choice. But if you know you're going to break a rule and you know the rule exists for a reason, you can do it successfully. It's a powerful way to create a unique piece sometimes. Show, don't tell. That's a big one. Readers will scream that at you. I'll even write it in red pen, even though I won't scream it. But you need to be able to know why you're going to change that, why you're going to break it. Show, don't tell is important for immersion, but sometimes you need to break that rule for pacing purposes. So you want to tell instead of show. Or there's something minor and you can just kind of gloss over it. You don't need to spend a lot of time showing it. It's okay to just tell that piece, especially when you're writing a longer piece of fiction. You're going to have 80,000 words. If you try to show everything, it's going to be, 200,000 words and no one's going to invest their time in it. It's too long. So you need to know when you're telling versus when you're showing and why you're doing those things. Killer chasing you down the hallway, pacing's important. Tell, don't show. Or show it briefly. Don't elaborate. You're not talking about the pictures on the hallway wall now because there's no time for that. Even if those pictures are central to the storyline, show that in a different scene. This is not the time to show it. Head hopping is a really big rule that people break unintentionally, and that really upsets readers. You will have a lot of people turning away from unintentional head hopping because they can't stay focused on the story. It's too jarring. But there might be a reason you want to do that. You might want to disorient your reader, and you might want to head hop for that reason. Or you might need to show a different perspective for a reason. Maybe you want the reader to know the killer's point of view and the victim's point of view at the same time. I wrote a quick piece for it for a demonstration here. So Michael casts his eyes downward, rubbing his forehead with 3 fingers. This is the longest day of his life, and he has no idea it is about to become his shortest. He waves goodbye to the security guard behind the desk and exits through the revolving glass door. He inhales deeply, then checks the sky for rain clouds. Odd, he mumbles as he steps toward the curb. He raises his hand to flag down a taxi. As he watches a yellow sedan respond to his visual cue, he feels a bump against the back of his shoulder. His head whips to the left, and he is staring into the eyes of another man standing inches away. I am so sorry. The stranger licks his lips and holds out his hand. This is for you. Please. He tries to keep his hand from shaking, but he is sure it is trembling. Take it. He hopes he put enough urgency into his voice. Across the street, at the corner, out of Michael's view, the young man sees someone leaning against a stop sign, watching. Take it. Okay. This is written from Michael's point of view, limited third person. We're seeing it through his eyes, his actions, his thoughts, and then we have a sudden shift to the stranger's thoughts and feelings. His hands are shaking. He's trying to keep them from shaking. His visuals are different than Michael's. It's an abrupt shift. It's noticeable. But because of that, we get some contrasting perspectives. We get Michael's confusion, the stranger's nervousness. Why would I make the switch? In this case, it's to introduce suspension. The watcher across the street cannot be seen from Michael's perspective. Michael can't know the stranger's watching him, but the reader needs to know. Okay, so I could have done omniscient view instead. Why'd I switch to the stranger's perspective? Maybe we want to see the stranger's connection to the watcher, the stranger's fear of what's happening. There's certain reasons we might want to give the reader that perspective. And in that case, the head hopping is necessary, it's intentional, and it's okay because I'm aware I'm doing it. If I'm just head hopping around with no awareness as the writer, I'm going to lose my reader. It's going to disengage them. So you want to play around with the rules. Be aware of what they are. Know why you're breaking them. Experiment with it. Yeah, you're the writer. You can experiment all you want. The rules are no rules, really, as long as you know why you're doing what you're doing, because the goal is to to engage the reader. And even when you're writing for yourself, you want to engage with it. You want to be entertained by it as well. It's not that you have to follow the rules for, just because you're going to have readers. You might never want to publish. You might want to just do this for yourself, but you still want to understand what those rules are and know why you're doing what you're doing to make a stronger piece, even for yourself. Are there any rules you cannot break? Yes, but I won't call those rules either. I'm going to say they are common sense. You want compelling characters. That's not one you're going to try to break. No one wants to read a story about somebody who wakes up, goes to work, eats dinner, comes home, eats dinner, goes to bed 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, he does the exact same thing, only watches TV instead of eats dinner. And blah, 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 boring, boring, boring. No one wants to read it because there's no conflict. You need to have conflict. You need to have compelling characters. The valet on page 7, that's only there for one line, doesn't need to be compelling. Your main character, your supporting characters need some backstory. That's important. And they need to be relatable. Even if they're not exotic, they can be, but they don't have to be. But you're breaking a big taboo rule by just making them blah, no interest at all. They have to have interest. They have to have motivation. They have to have conflict. And Rachelle and I were talking about a story she read the other day. She enjoyed it. It was easy reading. There was no major, conflict happening. It was just the woman's everyday conflict. But that word was still there, conflict. If you're interested in a character enough, if you have an engaging character, even breaking the seal of a toothpaste tube and struggling with that can be conflict. If you have a character that you are, interested in, even missing the bus, what's going to happen? Is he going to lose the job? Is he going to miss the birth of his baby? Whatever that conflict is, it doesn't have to be huge thriller killer vibes. It just has to be something that makes you go, what's going to happen? And a lot of that stems from caring about the character. So those are rules you don't want to break. You want to have engaging characters. You want to have conflict. You do need to have movement. There has to be some type of an arc And it doesn't have to be a huge transformation, although it can be. It can be just some type of progression or regression, because not all conflicts end well. So you don't have to have that happy ending. There just has to be movement, whether it's forward or backward. And if the character ends up in the same place at the end as where he started, that's okay too, as long as we have the movement throughout the story. So the best way to learn how to do that is to study the rules so you know what you're breaking, when you're breaking it. Read. Some writers actually aren't readers, and that blows my mind, but most of us are readers. And I suggest you read as much as you can, consume it. Don't just stick with your favorite genre. Read different things. You want to read different genres, different styles, different time periods, different authors. Just explore and then analyze what you're reading. So next time you're reading, don't sit down to read it like you normally would. Actually think about it. What's this author doing with his point of view? How is this piece more engaging because it's showing? And then break those rules. Write some stuff, break some rules, and see how it changes your final piece. See what it does for your senses. See what it changes, and as you learn how to break those rules, then you can do them with intent and you can get away with it. Or you might decide you don't want to do that. It's better this way, but you have to explore with it. You have to play. It's part of the creative process. It makes writing fun. I do have that worksheet that has a way of breaking rules with intention and some prompts to get you to go through that. So feel free, it's in the chat there. You can download that. But that's the way you break rules if you want to. The other rule that you can't break is the editing rule that we were talking about. You have to edit, 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 edit. There's no way around that one. So, but I think we'll be talking about that soon. Did anybody have any questions on breaking craft rules?
I first wanted to say a little something like I like how you did head hopping there. You're describing it, and that was really helpful. And then, but also the way that you actually crafted it in that story, that we had that first guy, and then literally through an exchange of hands, you went into the other person's head. So it was like as you're passing it, you passed the narrative to him. So that was
That's good. I didn't even
glad to
notice
note
that.
that was cool.
Liminal writing, I like it.
You were writing to teach.
There's a lot of showing and not telling too, so
Mhm.
use that piece for that too if we want.
Yeah. Yeah. So anybody have any questions?
Jump into editing.
No, that's okay. And also if you don't have anything that you want to like say, you can also always put something into the chat.
Yeah, and we're also gonna run out of time if we want to do a prompt still.
That's true, yeah. Yeah,
So
we got prompt time, we got constructive criticism time. Yeah, so how's everyone feeling about doing a little writing now?
Sure.
Yeah?
yay.
Okay. Well, and so I mean we kind of technically have 20 minutes. I know Cal needed to hop off right at 6:30 at our 90-minute mark. But um
What if we just do like a 10-minute writing prompt?
yeah, okay.
And that
Yeah,
that
10 minutes there, then
and
we
then
can
that's
also do a little bit of a review, and if he has any questions after that.
yeah, because then we can use the final to just like do some editing and constructive criticism, just a real quick chat about that. And
Yeah.
I see the one gentleman there once in a while. Is that Jack by any chance? Who's with us here?
What time?
Oh, I'm Cal.
Okay, Cal. Then that's who I'm seeing once in a while. Hi, Cal. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, that's me here. I'm
Yeah.
doing
Okay.
the outdoor thing.
I thought you were looked like another bug guy I know, but okay.
Oh, we might have met. We don't know.
Right, right.
Not sure.
Okay, good stuff. Okay.
You're both in port, so it's
Yeah,
likely.
yeah,
Yep.
you're right.
That's what I'm thinking too. And I do a lot of volunteering, so it's always possible.
Yes, I think I recognize you. It's coming. Okay, I'm gonna go pen to paper here for a bit.
All right.
Me
Okay.
too. Okay, what are we up to?
All right. Well, I have a fiction prompt, and I think Rachelle has a poetry prompt, so you guys can take either or and do whichever one you want with it.
Yeah.
You,
You go first with your prompt.
okay. So my prompt is going to be you enter a library where the people are loud, because if they stop talking, they can hear the books whisper. Write a poem, write a piece, write a scene, any genre. Set the scene. Where are you? Are you with someone? Why are you there? What are your senses revealing? How does being there make you feel? Who are the people in the library? What are the books saying? What happened? Why is the library like this? What is this story about? So do with it as you will. It's creative writing. Run with it. Rachelle, what's your prompt?
I like yours better. So I think I would love to I yeah, I think if you want like yeah, for your poem, um work with that prompt. You're in a library
Okay,
and there could be a ghost there too. So
there you go.
there we go.
And I will set a timer so we don't run out. We'll do 12 minutes. How's that? That gets people writing. We have about 2 minutes left. Unless everyone's reached a stopping point already.
Just
I'm good to go myself.
you're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not done.
all right, take your time. We got a couple more minutes. Nothing like a timer going off and stopping your pen in mid-flow.
Workshop poetry and writing skills with that Rachelle. And it's Brenda Hurst is an author new. Sounds fun. You look very intrigued. We're just writing. I'm done.
I'm done.
And there's the timer. It's official. Somebody's asking how to join. I feel bad. Oh no, it's almost
Oh.
over.
Get the replay.
There you go. We'll do the replay. I'll let them know.
Mhm.
All right, so how did that feel for everyone? Does it feel good just to start writing and thinking creatively? And
Feels like home.
there you go. That's a good way to feel.
Okay. Who wrote a poem or who wrote a story?
I wrote
Okay.
a poem.
2
You
poems.
go ahead.
for
I
you?
kind of wrote I
4
think a little
poems?
bit of a mix, but you guys go first.
Okay. Athena, what'd you do? Story or poem?
Story.
Nice. I did too. All right.
Does anybody want to share?
Stephanie and Maddie, if do you want to share? You can turn off yeah, unmute yourselves since you haven't shared anything quite yet.
First of all, I'm so sorry we were late. But we got something out of it. We both wrote something.
Yay.
I've only previously written 2 poems in my life.
Better than none.
There you go.
Well, it's just a short one. Okay. It's called Not Quiet But Loud. In a library strange, not quiet but loud, you must talk and laugh, no silence allowed. For if it's too still, the books start to speak, whispering secrets from pages they creep. And deep in the shelves, a ghost likes to roam. He hates the quiet and calls it his home. So keep up the noise, don't mumble or yawn, or you might find him here when the voices are gone.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
That kind of
Yeah,
feels like a
that's really good.
children's cautionary story or poem.
Nice one.
Every
Nice
time
one.
you rhyme too much, it kind of sounds childrenly.
Yeah, but that was good.
It depends, but I like it because it feels like that little morality thing at the end.
Fairy tale. Maddie typed mine loud ass library. I tell them about my day. Their response unrelated. I hear the pages flip, grateful that it's not script. We keep it up because we must. A voice might whisper from the dust. The third time I'm told of her kids, though, I'm thinking, I'll just open a window. The building's old, the window's broken, the voices stop, but something's spoken. Polly shouts out her evening meal. Jimmy starts up a song. There's nothing else to talk about. The night is feeling long. but we keep it up because we must. I can hear them whisper from the dust.
Nicely done.
Good one too, yeah.
Dusty old books. I like that.
I love this creativity going. Nice.
I'll go if no one else is going.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, go.
My turn.
I'm gonna mute because I'm coughing. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I never titled it, but here we go. As I entered my local library, the calm from outside was nowhere inside. Kids laughing and talking, the noise unbearable. Hush, I say, hush, hush. No, screams a boy, or the ghosts inside the books will cry, cry. It's us, us, us. We are alive. Please don't hush, 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 as we don't want to die. The end.
Aw, nice.
That's cute. I like
little,
that.
sketchy and all over, but I got something on paper.
Yeah, it's that's how it's gonna be when you're first writing. It's all your first thoughts. So going back and editing is always gonna happen. No, that's great.
Yeah.
Right.
And you still built
Yeah.
a scene, so I still could see what was happening based on what you provided there. So that's a great start.
Okay,
And
thank
Cal?
you.
Okay, this one was a little harder for me. I usually pick a subject and meditate on it for a while, but here it goes. Feels like loud fun. People chatter like time is running out the door. We run along and search for more, but the teacher already closed that door. A book fell and broke the spell. We quieted down and looked around. I opened the book. I could hear a whisper of sound and found a new spell. The book for me would set me free to a higher place within to see. Black ghosts of words come to life, a new place away from strife. The book for me could make me see. That's it.
Yay, another good one.
Good.
Oh,
I like that. I liked all of them. That's great. Very good. Very good.
I know you need to hop off in like 2 minutes, and we'll still keep going. I'm fine for a bit. But do you have any other
Oh.
questions, Cal, before you go?
Yeah.
No, and basically as I'm putting on my shoes and stuff, I'll just shut off my audio and keep listening until I have to leave home, like with the truck. So
Okay.
I'll keep listening as long as you guys are on.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
we're
I've
running the show
loved it.
overtime, but it was so nice meeting you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Will do. I'm sure I'll be talking to you about all of you again. Thank you.
Thank you. So we wanted to still talk a little bit about editing and constructive criticism. What it does, and you wanted to mention publishing, right, Rachelle? You wanted to talk about publishing a little bit, or?
Yeah. I just want to see if Athena wanted to say anything about her piece.
Oh yeah, she's so quiet.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but if you want.
No, I'll read it, but it's kind of 10 minutes was not enough.
It never is. That's why they're
But
just
I mean,
to throw something on the paper.
it's established anyway. We all know what the prompt was, so I guess we can see what I'm getting off to. Anyway, so I wrote a little bit of a story. So many voices all going at once. Some were hushed, some not as shy, a few even, well, not loud, almost boastful. I thought you said we were going to the library, I said, fighting every single urge in regards to library survival I had and raising my voice so it wasn't drowned out. I found myself frantically looking for a severely strict, if not incredibly old lady to such me. This is a library, Samuel assured me, gesturing to the rows upon rows that littered the first floor, almost to the roof. See? Books. Ergo, library. He motioned for me to follow as he skirted around a woman who was crying into a book. In fact, several people were crying, some even wailing. Sam, I began as we passed along to the second floor. Here there weren't as many people, but it seemed louder, almost, perhaps carried upward from the first floor. Hill. I'm sorry, what? I asked, tearing my attention from a hunched figure shaking a rather large tome like it was his laundry. What? Samuel repeated, and I stopped. I stopped in my tracks. You're not funny. If you're trying to get me back for earlier, I informed him, giving him a skeptical look. Kill. How are you doing that? I asked, trying to hide my second of concern. He must have seen it. What did it say? What did what say? The book. What did it say? What do you mean, what did the book say? Books don't talk. It didn't say anything. I can't, and even if it did, I wouldn't be able to hear it in this whole noise that's happening. He lost whatever nerve was his last and grabbed me by my wrist, bringing me further into the shelves. And then it was going to be like, outside of the din, then she could hear that the books were actually like talking, and then it would elaborate on more of why they were talking, and it would be set in some sort of magical world, and it's stories that are futures or past or presents, or maybe the books are writing themselves. I hadn't decided yet.
Cool.
I love it. That's awesome.
Boy.
And see, you're already got a whole story you're building already. You got the world building going. Prompts are great for getting the creative juices flowing.
Oh, I can write anything. Like,
That was
I
killer.
have,
That was
I
enjoyable.
have, I have no problem. You can give me 2 sentences and I'll make you like 6 paragraphs.
Yeah, I love it. That's how I am. I just, yeah. And it's fun. I think it's fun to see what people come up with. It's terrific. So, and look at that, one prompt and you can get poems or stories. Everyone had a different take on it. I love it.
Yeah, that was great. Mine was, I don't know, just to summarize. Should I read it or should I just summarize it? Do we want to get going on that?
It's up to you. If you want to share, go for it. If not, it's 8:33. So
Yeah. Does anyone need to hop out of here, or are we good?
I kind of do have to go just because it's 9:30 my
Okay.
time, and I
Okay.
have to get up in the morning at 5:30. So
Okay.
I'm early.
Let's just go into the constructive criticism and
okay.
editing and stuff.
I
Okay.
will have to dip. So sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Keep it coming.
Okay.
But I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you got
Thanks,
some
Rachelle. Thank you.
insight. You're welcome.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. So we can do this kind of quickly. And constructive criticism, obviously there's 2 components to that. Constructive and criticism. So a lot of people offer feedback and it's not helpful because they don't know how to do it. So always remember that when you're asking people to read your work and let you know, you won't hear back from people. You'll not know if it's because they hated it and don't want to tell you, or if it's this, they never read it. It's a tricky situation. So always take that with you when you're asking people for feedback, because you need feedback. It's important to get feedback, but try not to let it crush your soul and stop you from writing, because a lot of people aren't qualified to do that. They don't know how to do constructive criticism. So that's just a caveat I wanted to throw out there, because I feel bad for people when they're getting no response or a horrid response and it's not even the right response. And that kind of goes along with the editing thing too. I'll get feedback from editors that it's not always correct. They'll grammatically change something to make it incorrect. Or I recently had somebody change my words to British English, but I'm US English. So just remember that. I just don't want anybody to ever feel bad about constructive criticism. It's important to get it. It's important to give it, but you have to know how to do that and how to receive it. So, and then editing is the same way. I don't know what Rachelle wanted to add to that, but I wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it is like a skill sometimes for some to accept constructive criticism and like to not totally take it personally. Take it a little personally. I mean,
Oh,
you
sure.
know, if you're not perfect, you are wherever you are in your writing journey. But yeah, definitely it's very important to receive it. And yeah, and if you're giving constructive criticism, just know that you aren't supposed to be there to tear somebody down, but you are there to help, honestly help. you know, like you see where they can do better, where they try to make a point happen, um and I don't know, I mean, you also have to build trust with the person who's offering that to you too, so that you also know that they're maybe not, hopefully not coming from like even a competitive place, but they want to be honestly helping you and like not just being like, oh, that's bad, and, you know, tear you down so that they're the best author in the world and that you have no confidence to ever write again. That'd be terrible.
People don't do that, but they probably do.
And you know what? Anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know, like I've
People are.
seen, I've heard that roommates have sabotaged other people's alarms so that they would miss the exam.
Oh, jeez.
So
No,
people
that's
can be
true.
brutal.
People are, yeah. Yeah. They don't lift each other up when they're supposed to, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, anyway, um, yeah, I don't have anything else to offer at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a whole thing on editing, and that's a whole other type of workshop because it's a long one.
Another whole workshop could just be bring your piece and we will do constructive editing on the spot.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a good one.
So some editing on the spot. Yeah.
And then you wanted to talk about publishing a little bit, or
Yeah, yeah,
I
I'll
know
just
you mentioned
mention.
it. I know you mentioned it in the beginning, but we were pre-recording at that point. We were just chatting.
Yeah, yeah. So self-publishing, yeah, because a few people had asked to hear more about that because yeah, they've seen that I've published my books and you know, a lot of people have seen that and they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. I have so much poetry. Like I'd love to make my own book." I'm like, "Okay, sweet, go for it." And I mean, the short answer of how to do it is you go to kdp.com, so it's Kindle Direct Publishing, that's through Amazon. And they have templates for book sizes, so you can get like a little smaller kind of like flip book. You can get your regular like novel size book. Personally, my poetry books are on yeah this size. Um, can't remember the dimensions, but but then yeah, and so it gives you it does tell you all the guides on like how what size your document needs to be. And essentially you build your document and then you make a PDF out of it and you submit it to Amazon and they'll tell you all of the where your stuff is coming out you know it, or coming into the bleed section, so it tells you all of your dimensions, what needs to be changed and fit in there. Um, it doesn't show you your spelling errors, so you gotta be conscious of that. I have personally
That's the editing part.
received my book, and I'm like really excited, and I know I look through every single poem and every single word, and then I'm like, how did I make those? How did I miss that? Oh my gosh, I'm a terrible poet. I'm just gonna have to throw out my career now because everyone's gonna notice that mistake, and oh my gosh, I'm so brutal with myself.
We are our worst critic.
Yeah. But yeah, no, self-publishing is a great journey because that's like the easiest way to just get your book in your hand. And well, I mean, I did that because I found like a publisher. I don't know, not really a publisher because they weren't offering, you know, anything to me to publish. They asked me for like $3,000 or something for my book, and they said that they would barely edit it because poetry is personal. And so we're just going to help you get it published and stuff. And then we'll put it up on Amazon. And I'm like, I could do that myself, put it up on Amazon and not have to pay you. And I have total creative freedom to make it. So
And all
that
your royalties.
was my journey with it. And so I encourage a lot of people to do the same unless you really do find a true publisher who can get your stuff out there. I just know that journey is much longer, much more difficult. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
know
The
anything
traditional
about it.
publishing route is, now that self-publishing is an available option, the traditional publishing route is so hard to get into. I don't know about the poetry side, but I'll assume it's similar as the creative writing, unless you're a celebrity
Mm,
or you already have an audience,
yeah.
you're not even going to see their desk.
Mm,
It won't even make it to their desk. So it's really hard to do it. Not that it's bad, but also a lot of people want to do the publishing route instead of the self-publishing route, traditional, because they don't want to market themselves. It's just not, marketing is hard. But surprise, publishers don't market for you. That's why they want you to come with a good following already. They are not marketing for you. So you still have to do the same amount of marketing and give them a majority of the royalties. So it's just something to think about. It's not, there's no shame in self-publishing because, unless you're putting crap work out there, in which case, who cares? It's crap work. So if you're really seriously, wanting to self-publish and you're afraid self-publishing is going to tarnish your name, it's not unless your work is tarnished. So I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but the self-publishing route is valuable and valid. There's nothing wrong with it. You can still go traditional, but you're not going to get the marketing benefit that a lot of people think they're getting. You're going to get editing and illustrators and book covers. The publisher will do all that, but you can pay to do that yourself and collect more royalties. So you're really and you can do it sooner. Traditional publishing could take years. I've heard people wait years to go that route. So I think it's to keep your options open. If you want to publish, keep your options open. Don't feel bad about choosing one way or the other. Just research and educate yourself when you make that choice. So.
Cool. That makes me feel a little bit better because I've been a little bit self-conscious about the fact that I self-publish, and I'm like, well,
not at all.
I'm like, oh, couldn't find someone, or I just didn't feel like doing all the legwork to find someone. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. And there's so many vanity presses out there now and hybrid, calling themselves hybrid now because vanity presses got a bad name. So now they're called hybrid publishers, and it's the same thing. It's a vanity press, and it's where you're paying them to do very little that you could be doing yourself, and they're charging you way more than it would cost. So no, do not feel bad. You made the right choice because your books are out there. They're available. People can enjoy them.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Perfect. Cool.
Did anybody that's left have any questions for us, or?
I wonder, Seppi, if you wanted to share anything about your publishing experience, because you did go through somebody, and I know you felt like you spent a lot of money and got a bunch of books, but then they didn't really help you afterwards. If you want to add to that.
Share your publishing journey.
Yeah, like in 2010, I went through Author House Publishing because back then you couldn't just like self-publish online that I knew of anyway. And it was quite expensive. I think at the time it was like $1,600. And then they told me that all the rights and everything were mine and that I would like be able to do whatever. And then later on they were like, you can't just like publish your book with someone else. You published with us, it's ours. And like totally lied to me. Now I have this book that I have to like purchase for like $8 to have my copy and then sell to someone, and it's actually quite inconvenient, and I think it's way better just to do like what Rachelle did. And for my next book I'm looking into like Indigo or whatever that is. Here's my book. Yeah, same thing, like you just self-publish and then they sell on their website. Essentially you can direct people there much better. There is no shame, like you said, in doing it by yourself.
Not at all. And a traditional publisher, you never pay. They give you an advance, which by the way, nowadays is very small. It's not like it used to be. So it's not like, oh, but they'll give me $10,000. No, they won't. And that money is actually meant to be used for marketing.
Right.
When a traditional publisher gives you that advance, you're supposed to use that to do your marketing. So it's not what people think. But yeah, when you're paying,
like I want that to pay my rent while I focus on writing and make the perfect product.
I wish there was a way to do it. Although there's a lot of scammers that'll help you with that if you want.
Right.
My question is, how do you get people interested in buying your work? You're either one, if you either go self or you go through a publisher, and you want to be selling thousands of books. There's got to be, some kind of little special little something about that book that everyone wants to read about. So it's finding that little, you know what I mean? Like that one little thing that piques an average person's interest that they want to actually read up on it, right? So to me, Rachelle, I don't know how many books you got published and how much it cost you, but and then the the girl there. I can't remember her name that we were just talking about her. What's her name? She was at the market. I recognize her. That you were just telling us about your publishing story. What's your name?
Me, September.
Yeah, that you're September. Yes, yes. Were you at the market there a while back? Was that you there or no?
I
With
have
you?
been at a market, but I don't know.
No, was that with
There,
you?
there's a woman, Nikki Hafner. She has a novel. I know she's in town and has, well, her husband actually made her a publishing company basically to for her book.
Promote it,
So
yeah.
so that was a cool, like, marriage duo to make it even give that more of a professional look and feel to it, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I think makes it even more marketable. I
I
mean,
guess
in
my
order to get
question
people,
is,
yeah.
how do you sell it? How do you make people want to buy it? That's the trick, right?
I mean,
Well,
that's always the trick, and I'm literally learning that every time I go
Yeah,
out to sell it. And it really just comes down to, I think, what you're most enthusiastic about sharing with people about your work. Like
yeah,
if you're like, this is about this, and this is why I really wanted to make this book, right? Or if it's a collection of poems, it's like for me, my very, like, I mean, all the poems within are individually, awesome.
yeah.
But it also has a specific thing that it's a narrative from the beginning to end of the year. So all the poems that I wrote in 2020 are in Chaos of Tao. And then for the most part, with some creative decision making, the poems are arranged from beginning to end of the year that I actually wrote them. So
Right.
you get that view from January into the end. Um, so
Yeah.
I mean that's like a particular selling point. Or I might share a few poems with somebody and they'll be like, "That's so beautiful. I want that on my coffee table."
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah. All different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a matter of like live events and
Yeah.
online presence, and you really need to kind
Yes.
of balance it between the two. And you'll have half the people saying don't advertise until you have a book published, and half the people saying do it now and be ahead of time. So it's going to be what works for you, but there's no harm in getting an audience ahead of time. It's just
Yeah.
sharing pieces of yourself is the most important part, actually, just the authenticity. Be yourself, and people will like you and
Mhm.
want to follow you, and then they'll be interested in what you wrote. That's almost the best way to do it as you're leading up to it. And then when you have something, you just have to see what kind of social media presence you have and go out and do events and think outside the box on events.
Right.
Don't just go to
Yeah.
book fairs, go to, if you wrote a book about a horse and there's a horse show in town,
Yeah.
you
No,
set up a table at the horse show. Yeah,
I'm more. Yeah, I'm kind of more curious on that question, more for you people that are aspiring to do it as a profession where you want to make some money doing it. I don't think I'm ever at that level or will be. If I did it, I'd do a handful just to share with my family and friends.
which is
But
nice. That's
great
great. There's
too,
nothing wrong with
because it's still because
and then it's written for life, right? And those people will have my few little blurbs,
yeah, it's your life.
forever. Yeah. So that's where I might head with my interest in all of this.
right.
But for like you, Rachelle, I want to see your works, up on the big billboards and your big smiling face with you holding your 3 books so the whole world wants one, because I think that's deserving of your efforts, right? So that's where I'd like to see your books go. Anyhow,
Yeah,
and I'm not
that
sure
was it.
about Rebecca. I'm sure it sounds like you're in the same boat, kind of. You're hoping to make a career or some kind of a future,
Yeah, it's hard to make
monetary
money.
monetary gain out of it.
Yeah, writers don't make a lot of money for the most part.
Right.
Most writers, well, let's face it, artists, they're struggling
I'm
artists.
struggling. Yes,
That's never going away. We're always going to be struggling
it's a
artists.
struggle unless you get that right little break, right? The odd time the odd person gets that break, and then you can't keep them on the shelves. That kind of that's where I want to see with Rachelle as a friend, right?
Thank you. Well, and
Anyhow,
that's also why Rebecca and I are on our
doing
coaching
it.
and
Yeah.
teaching and offering editing services so that yeah, we have another way to sustain our
Yes.
writing ambition,
Yeah, and
addictions,
getting yourself out there like this. So yeah, all good. I give you guys a lot of thanks, and I wish total success. Right.
Well,
And
thank you.
if you put on any more of these, I probably would like to take part again.
Oh, great. We would love
Great.
to do that.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
All right, I'm gonna bail on you guys and
I think we're a
talk
good
to you all later.
So, all right. Thank you so much for
Thanks
coming.
for coming, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Rachelle. Thanks, Rebecca, and nice
Thank
meeting
you.
everyone else.
Nice
Bye
to
bye.
meet all of you. And thank you for sharing your words. That was awesome. I'm so
Yeah,
glad.
thanks.
You did that.
Hopefully we do
Thank
some
you.
more. Okay, now I got to figure out how to shut it off. I'll figure it out.
There's a little leave button on the bottom.
Yeah, I see it now. Stop video, I guess. Is that what I got to hit?
The red
Okay,
button. No, you got it.
You did
leave.
it.
There it is. Leave.
There you
We got it.
Thank you guys. That was fun. I'm so sorry we were late.
It's
go.
okay.
We did do a recorded session, so when Rachelle gets it set up for the replay, she can share it with you guys, and you can catch up on anything you missed because
That'd be great.
poetry talk ahead of everything. So,
Perfect.
all right, you guys, thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Joe, how do you leave?
All right. I think I'll just stop
It's
recording.
just done. Yep,
Is that just that little stop recording?
there we go.
You receive an email when the cloud is ready.